Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Imperial Scholars Podcast. My name is Mitch, my co-host is Cabs, and in today's episode, we follow up on the last episode where we covered the supremacy and war crimes of the usurper Nagash. In this episode, we see kind of the consequences of those actions, where his cronies ended up, and a new generation of problems that arise. Cabs, are you ready?
Dude, I am ready, Mr. Krabs.
You are ready. You are always ready, Mr. Krabs. All right, so in this episode, we cover the actual lineage of the vampires. And I know, like, Nagash is sort of vampiric with his formula or whatever, or the elixir that gave him the immortality and whatnot. This is what is, like, chronologically and, like, canonically, like, the beginning of the vampires.
Okay. The beginning of the vampires.
Yeah, remember last time I said that the body of Arkan the Black was never discovered or never... Yeah, they never discovered it. They never had it.
Yeah. I remember.
So the thing was what actually happened to Arkan. It's worth pointing out, I forgot to mention a very pivotal thing about Nagash during his reign, or very pivotal. It was so pivotal I forgot. Was that when he became the king, his main thing that he was doing was basically, I need to build a giant obelisk in my name, and it's actually going to be a giant magnifier of my magical powers of death. So Cetra, way back in the day, created a giant white pyramid that no one would dare to make a bigger version of. And this thing was like just so white that looking upon it hurt your eyes. Nagash decides, I'm going to do an even bigger pyramid, and I'm going to make this thing like charcoal black. And it's actually completely made of basalt.
Which that
sucks
black
when I
mineral.
stop and think about it, being like, oh my God, an entire structure entirely made of black basalt. And this thing is built with like the same mindset of like the Great Wall of China. You know, like the Great Wall of China, like if the workers died, they just worked over them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he did that with this pyramid. So there's like generations of just dead people within this pyramid. Then it's like, oh, good, it will help to magnify my powers of death defying.
Okay.
Pretty standard stuff at this point for Nagash, I feel like. But anyway, so he's got this thing, and this is where the immortals were, and Arkan was in this pyramid with this prince, and he was intending to betray Nagash. However, by the end of it, Arkan was shot in the chest with one of those dragon guns that the Nehekarans got from Cathay, and he was incapacitated, and they just stole his corpse. And they went to the distant city of, I believe it's Lamia, where Arkan is just kept there as this dead prisoner. They just have him strung up. And we cut to a new character. This is the Queen of Lamia, a character by the name of Neferata. So Neferata goes and sees her brother, the prince, who also I think happens to be her husband. Mm-hmm. But, whatever. I mean, royal lineage makes sense. But okay. Neferata goes and is like Neferata, it's worth pointing out at this point, she's basically held as a captive within the palace, where it's like she's in the female quarters and she is confined to the women's quarters of the palace. She is unable to leave at any point.
Why can't she leave?
It's just this thing where it's just like she's not respected because she is a female in ancient Nehekara, and the king is just like, no, I rule over this, and you basically act as you act as a figurehead when I'm gone, but beyond that, it's like you just lounge about and produce me with heirs when I need you.
I thought like females were like revered.
Yeah, it's weird. This lineage is the same lineage, so it should be revered, but Neferata is just being neglected by her brother and all of the council of her brother, and basically just kept as a servant or a captive with the servants around her. Mm-hmm. And she goes to see her brother, and her brother's like, oh, look, we've got the body of Arkan the Black. This is going to be a new age for us. He will reveal all of the secrets of Nagash's sorcery and the secret to immortality. That was what they really wanted, was the immortality part, right?
Mm.
And so they have Nagash just strung up in the basement, basically, and they just torture information out of him and have him trying to teach them how to do ancient magic and how to extend their lives with immortality. But unfortunately for the prince at this point, he's such an idiot, and all of his goons are such morons. None of them are figuring it out. But Neferata actually happens to sneak down there and kind of watch what's going on when she can. And eventually she goes to talk to Arkan in private. She sneaks down there. And Arkan's first thing is he kind of like looks up at her and is like, all right, fine. I'll teach you. That's fine. And the reality is because Arkan's actually just falling in love with this woman.
So he does it for the beautiful lady. He's a simp.
He really do be. Like when I stop and think, I think Arkan might be the biggest simp of Warhammer, because he's still simping in Age of Sigmar.
Really? Is he actually?
Yeah, oh yeah, there's a thing where it's like, I think he does something out of love to like save Neferata into the Age of Sigmar thing as well. So, you know.
The eternal simp. He gets eternal life, just a simp.
Yep. Good use of it. So,
crazy.
Simp Daddy decides, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to teach you. I will actually teach you the ways of immortality. And I mean, to Neferata's credit, it actually is working for her. She picks this up immediately. She's much more competent at this than her brother. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that she does unfortunately have to sacrifice other people for this, because again, it's Nagash's sorcery. So she just starts sacrificing her servants, and she's just imbued with this otherworldly strength, otherworldly vigor, and immortality. And at that point, it's basically like, hey, brother, you think that you run this house? I don't think so. I'm taking over.
Ooh. And so she just lays down the law.
She does, and what else is he gonna do? So it's like, yeah, this is the new leadership now, and all of the subjects of the prince are like, well, she's much more competent than her brother. Okay, yeah, let's follow her. And Nagash, in exchange for this, is given the ability or the opportunity for just freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Arkan is riding along, and he's sticking around, and he's kind of contemplating what to do with himself, because his simpiness, he's kind of at war with himself, being like, I'm the scumbag, womanizer, piece of garbage, like lieutenant of Nagash. What the hell am I doing lingering around this place? And as he's sort of just thinking about what am I doing with my life, he gets shot by an arrow by a couple of the lackeys of the king, right?
Okay.
But I mean, it's Arkan, so it's like you shot this guy who is literally immortal with a couple of arrows. So he basically just tears them out of his leg and just makes quick work of these dudes. And it's like, what are you doing? Why would you do this? And it's just this thing of like, we don't like the queen. Her time is over. It's time for, the brother, the king, to take command again. It was under his orders. And so Arkan very quickly heads back to the city to go and talk to Neferata. It's like your brother is planning to kill you. I don't know what he intends. And right as he gets there, she is drinking of the magic elixir. And as she drinks of the elixir, she just starts spasming uncontrollably and just turns like pale as a ghost. And is basically just comatose within like 20 seconds. And the reason being is that she's been poisoned by Sphinx's venom, which is like this rare venom that's like, you can't get this anymore. And so he brings her to her bedchamber and is trying to save her life with the aid of this random servant being like, this is what we need to do. And he just goes through Nagash's tomes trying to find the right thing for whatever he can do to heal this. And he does this crazy, kooky, dark magic ritual thing with the hope that she drinks of his blood, and it's like, hopefully this will revitalize her. And unfortunately, right there, all this weird energy contorts, and then she just dies. Nothing happens.
So he just murdered her.
It was just a thing of like, I can try to cure her of this poison, and it's like, oh, it did literally nothing, and she's gone. And she's gone.
He rolled a nat 1, bro. That's what happened.
Bro rolled a nat 1 on medicine. Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I actually stabbed her in the neck. My bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I misread that. I thought it was rejuvenalization. Oh, sorry.
Oh, man.
So anyway, so at that point, he looks at it and he goes, well, I really got nothing left to lose at this point because my master's dead. I am just a well-known criminal of Nehekara all around for all number of war crimes. And, I mean, at the end of the day, I love this woman. I'm going to go kill her brother because I know he was behind it. So he does that very quickly.
It's really quick.
Just real quick. Well, he really does. He just like storms past the guards, makes quick work of those dudes. They try fighting him off, but again, he's like, I'm immortal. Like, what are you going to do to me?
Mm-hmm.
And just kills the prince or king or whatever. And that's the end of it. And that's basically that lineage killed. And somewhere amongst this, Arkan is killed once again by, I think, just random guards. I think it's eventually like he kills the king and then numbers get the better of him and he's just killed.
Okay. So he just dies. Is it like anyone named that murdered him, or is it just like a bunch of, like a big army?
I should have gone back to read it because I really don't remember off the top of my head. That was what caught me off guard. It was like, when did he die? We're like reading the book.
He's reading the book. Oh, yeah. And by the way, he's dead.
Yeah, it literally was like that for me. So I don't know if I blacked out for like a chapter or what happened, but yeah, he's dead. And okay. I don't know how.
And he's dead.
But there's this little just worm of a character. I think his name was Ubaid.
Oh, yes.
I think his name is Ubaid. And he's kind of like that. I imagine he kind of looks like that little gremlin looking dude from Berserk, like the little evil dude who's like being blackmailed by Griffith.
Okay.
I have to imagine it's what this guy looks like. But yeah, he's a real just like worm of a character or like a WWE promoter sort of character, right? Like that's what this guy is. And he goes and is like, all right, let us prepare the queen's body for the afterlife and for atonement and blah, blah, blah. And right at that moment, the queen jerks up. Her nails have extended into lion-esque talons, and she just starts slaughtering her handmaidens and just feasting on their blood and flesh.
And oh man.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, this is happening. And the reason being is because Arkan's magic did work. It did.
Oh, so he thought it didn't work, but it did.
Exactly, because he didn't bring her back he didn't bring her back in life essence. He brought her back from undeath.
Okay.
So yeah, now her skin is like just porcelain white. She has like no heat to her body. She has superhuman abilities. She has the everlasting hunger for blood, and she has like vampire teeth and all this stuff, right?
So the very first vampire.
Very first Neferata of Lamia, the vampire queen. And from here, like Neferata's thing is that. Sorry, let me gather my thoughts here.
Yeah, no, there's a lot.
There really is, yes. It's a lot for me to paraphrase because at this point, she's looking at it going like, okay, now I can actually rule as queen. There's another character, a cousin of hers by the name of Khalida, High Priestess Khalida.
Okay.
And Khalida was actually good friends with Neferata. It was basically this thing of like the older cousin and the younger cousin. And like Neferata was basically taking care of her younger cousin. And it was just this really sweet thing, right? This tender, loving thing. But eventually Neferata starts living for way too long. And people are kind of like, what's going on here? Like, we don't actually know the secrets going on, but like obviously, like this is not how long the average Joe should be living.
Wait, can they not tell that she looks like a vampire now, or
they can, but they don't know like the actual lore of it, of being like, oh, her skin is a lot paler, but like, I don't know, so looks fine to me otherwise.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
About vampires in general, do they work like how normal, like, you know, like how we would think normal vampires work with like the sun damaging them or whatever? Like how do they work in Warhammer? Just real quick.
Yeah, it works the same way as like the sun damaging them in the same way of like Nagash had that issue as well, right? Because he was in the pyramid when it was daylight.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So most undead can only come out at night then.
I think actually all of them, if I'm not mistaken. I'll stop and think about it.
All of them have to come out at night. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Neferata, and so eventually that's like this thing of Neferata is like, rejoice, for we will basically try to bring back a golden age to all of Nehekara, blah, blah, blah. And really she's just doing this like Game of Thrones scheming in the background, right?
All right. So she's like a political schemer.
Oh, she's an ace political schemer. Like she makes Tywin Lannister look completely inept in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
She's playing like some 40 chess 24/7, and she's damn good at it. But when they have this big feast, eventually Khalida points a finger at her cousin Neferata and is like, "You've been using the sorceries of Nagash, and I won't stand for this. I demand trial by combat and to see like who the gods deem worthy." So they do, and Khalida is a much better fighter. Like she's trained and, you know, been in wars and stuff, unlike Neferata. But Neferata, being a vampire demigoddess at this point, very quickly like gets the upper hand and accidentally slits her throat or something like that. She very quickly like does it like a fatal attack on her, right? And Neferata like tries to have her drink her blood and to convert her to vampirism, and Khalida's just like, yeah, nah, not happening, and then just dies.
Really? Okay, so she murders her friend.
Yeah, she would rather, and yeah, Khalida would rather die than become a vampire and like, you know, dishonor her lineage and dishonor the gods of Nehekara with Nagash's black magic.
Damn. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, that's basically her younger cousin that like she grew up with and took care of. And now it's just like, well, and this is a big moment for Neferata. Like there's another character who basically acts as like her co-counsel. And it's basically like, you can just tell Neferata lashes out because she's just upset at the death of her cousin. And she's just coping.
But she killed her.
I know, but it was a thing of like, she didn't want to kill her. She lashed out and then was like, all right. I mean, I tried to convert her to like, she still loved her at the end of the day. It was Khalida who demanded trial by combat. And it's like, I can't really back out of this.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. It's a complicated dynamic and I appreciate that, but that's
cool. It's interesting.
Yeah. And that's really like, where I guess I'll leave. Well, no, I shouldn't leave it there with Khalida, because at this point, Neferata begins to really advance she begins to create like a cult for the vampires and this cult of like the blood, right? And really to like reestablish the royal lineage of all of Nehekara. And there's one princess who has come to the city seeking like the guidance of the gods because she's been having a really rough pregnancy. And this princess is going to give birth to a son she just worries for the health of this kid. And Neferata has this woman give into the crazy blood rituals with the promise of like, I will help your son to be born and live as a healthy, normal young king. And well, this kid will grow up to be king of Kemri, the main capital city. And Neferata's plan is like, I'll just leave him here and he'll be tutored and he'll be taken care of and all of this stuff here in Lamia. That's my only thing that I really want from you. And she just, has the intent of grooming this guy.
Oh, no.
And I'm going to leave it there with Neferata because way off during a similar timeline to this, way off in the far reaches of the deserts of Nehekara, are some scavengers who are just making their way across the sandy plains, and they think they can smell a meal because these scavengers have been just starving, and they are just bickering amongst each other and chasing after their prey, and finally their prey happens to fall down. And these scavengers happen to be a random group of Skaven who were just looking for warpstone, that like, chaos energy manifest. And they're like, oh, we're on our way back. We need a We need a meal to make it for the trip home. Oh, look, here's a dead body. And they come over to the dead body, which, right as they come over, opens its eyes with necrotic energy.
Oh, no.
And this is, of course, Nagash, who has managed to escape.
Our boy.
He escaped looking like Two-Face, and he got completely scorched and just wandered into the desert for months and just survived off of pure willpower.
That's actually pretty impressive.
It's impressive. Being like he's just so filled with hatred that it's like he cannot be killed.
He's so angry.
It's the mad boy. And so the Skaven go over to eat him, and he's like, all right, let's see how you like it. And he rips out their throats with his teeth and kills the last few with like the Skaven's crappy, rusty daggers. And mind you, I said that these guys were hunting after Warpstone.
Mm-hmm.
So Nagash sees this stuff and he goes, all right, let's see, like, what is this? What's going on here? What's this weird glowing green rock? And his first thought is, let's eat it. And he does, and it actually reinvigorates him.
Yeah.
So I just want to point this out. All of the tragedy that occurred really only continued because of this random pack of Skaven carrying Warpstone. Nagash otherwise would have died in the desert.
So you're saying he only lived just because of some random Skaven?
Yeah, a random group of like 5 or 6 Skaven.
So he's like the luckiest dude, pretty much.
Oh, 100%. And they just happen to have a satchel of Warpstone on them.
Yeah, that is convenient.
Yeah, Well, here's the thing, is that the dude is basically poisoning himself by eating this stuff because it's still chaos manifest rock. But he wanders so far north to this giant black mountain that he goes into this place, and it's inhabited by these weirdos that are just like these weird chaos worshipping mutant dudes, basically. They're like, it sounds like they're kind of like webbed and like green, like fishmen looking dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And he just basically is just spying on these dudes this entire time and just like stealing food from their village, all this stuff. And he sees that they have like this. He sees that they have a priesthood and they have all of their own little cult and stuff like this. And Nagash, when he has the opportunity, goes and kills this cult. And there's sort of this special grave that is set to the side that Nagash goes to. And he rises the bodies of these random dudes who are like in this, special grave. And he sees that there's kind of this weird iconography on the walls. And he points at that and goes like, lead me to this. And so the corpses just, start walking without any real intent other than like follow Nagash's instructions. And they lead him to a giant mound of Warpstone.
Okay.
And at this point, Nagash is like, this will be all I need for an energy source. This will be all I need. Like, I can now perform. He couldn't perform necromancy before. He was too weak. Now he's back to full strength so long as he has this near endless supply of Warpstone.
So just for like me and some other viewers that don't know what Warpstone is, can you describe exactly what is Warpstone?
I mean, it is literally it's what Skaven hoard because it's literally magic made into a mineral and like chaos energy manifested into a physical mineral that you can use, but it's extremely unstable. It's the equivalent of being like Nagash came across yellow cake uranium and he's like, let's eat it. Like that's pretty good. And it's to the Skaven, it's just meth.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're addicted to this stuff, and it's everything about their economy. The Skaven are obsessed with this stuff. So Nagash is like, awesome, I got all this stuff, and from there he basically just goes to work making this giant black mountain his new fort, his new like main line of operations. And eventually all of the weirdo barbarians come to him and they go, you must be a god. There's nothing else that makes sense. You got this large army of undead skeletons wandering around, and you're just sitting here on this throne like some, character of myth. So they do think at this point that Nagash is a deity.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to him with this request of being like, we need your help to fight against another barbarian group, just standard Norskin raiders.
Mm-hmm.
And being like, we just want you to help us to fight these dudes off. We need your grandiose abilities. We need your skeleton army. We need all this stuff. And Nagash goes, yeah, okay, fine. Like, this is a great way for me to get some followers real quick. And Nagash basically just manipulates these dudes and just takes full advantage of the situation, as you would expect. And he leads these dudes into battle, and he very quickly, slaughters the opposing tribe. It's just like, oh, okay, the job's done. And these dudes go up to him and are like, all right, master, what is your next, what is your request of us? What is the next phase? Give us some holy scriptures from, the wise one. Nagash is basically a messiah to these dudes at this point. Which is I can't imagine a worse awesome. Messiah. Especially given the advice he gives next.
What's the advice? Charge in. No, dude, it's like Lord Farquaad. Some of you may die.
But it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. It's worse, dude, actually.
Oh, no.
He goes, and so spoke the holy divine, blah, 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 that they should eat the flesh of the untainted. And so he has these dudes cannibalize the Norskins that they just slaughtered.
Good. Making them stronger.
Sort of. It does make them stronger, but it mutates them into basically the first proto-crypt ghouls, which is a unit that you have in the game, right? The crypt ghoul. And it's just this... You gotta look these guys up real quick.
Oh, no. I don't want to. Oh... That's what they turn into?
This is basically the prototypes of these things.
Oh, these look disgusting.
Yeah, their whole thing is that they just become obsessed with eating flesh, and they lose all sanity.
Oh, Nagash, why?
It only gets worse the longer this man lingers.
He's just corrupting everything.
Mm-hmm. So he's just done this, and he goes awesome, I got this new army of flesh-eating lunatics. I got my undead army to mine all the warpstone. I got my base of operations, which he comes to name as Nagash Shazar, which I think is just the mountain of Nagash. Is what it translates to, something like that. Everything that this man owns, he just named after himself.
So crypt ghouls aren't even undead like how they normally are, in other fantasy. They're just twisted dudes.
They're just twisted cannibals, yeah. Or at least this is the equivalent. I don't know about the actual crypt ghoul, but these are prototype versions for sure. And yeah, they just linger in their hovels and just come out to just feast on anything that is within sight.
Yo, that's crazy, actually.
It's pretty grotesque. I didn't realize how bad the lore of these poor bastards were.
Oh, man. Nagash, why?
Why do you do this? Why do you hate everyone as much as you do, sir?
Dude, Nagash is a butt.
He, he had a chance of being not even a chance of redemption at this point. There's no redemption for this man, but I do like how it's he gets a second chance at life and he does the exact same thing over.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm. But it's important to note that all that's going on, Nagash basically is thriving off of this warpstone, and this is what's keeping him alive. And Nagash doesn't look like a human being anymore so much. He looks like some kind of weird, Ghost Rider looking thing. His eyes are just melted out, and they're just green flames.
He went full lich, pretty much, where he lost his humanity look.
Yeah, he's halfway there at this point. As the story goes on, he becomes a full-blown lich, yeah. And it's just, ugh. like a gross magic lich thing. But this does not go completely unnoticed because, as I said before, the Skaven are kind of like, they're crack fiends for warpstone, right?
Yeah, they smell it.
So you just took their main supply and they want it back now. They want the drugs back.
This is who the undead fight for most of the time, eh? They fight Skaven.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll cover that in the next episode. But yeah, they definitely don't take lightly to this. And this actually leads to all of the Skaven clans uniting to fight Nagash for this giant mound of warpstone. That's how much warpstone is here. And the clans uniting amongst the Skaven is like unheard of.
Oh, so like, are the Skaven kind of like the orcs where like they're just, if they like united, they'd be like scary, but they just hate each other so much they don't unite?
Well, it's a thing with the orcs is being like, they obviously aren't operating with the mindset of like, we want to roam over everything and destroy everything because we want to rule the world, right? They're just looking for a scrap and to fight.
Yeah, but what about the Skaven? Skaven are like,
the Skaven actually do seek utter supremacy. But the thing is that they're so cowardly and they're constantly scheming to backstab each other. They can never cooperate long enough.
Ah, I see. But when it comes to this warpstone,
they're like, we need it now.
Do the crypt ghouls even eat Skaven bodies? Please tell me they don't.
Oh, yeah. They don't care. If there's flesh, they'll eat it.
They'll eat anything.
They have a faction in Age of Sigmar that is literally called the Flesh Eater Courts. If that's a kind of an idea of what you're dealing with here.
Oh no.
It's beyond nasty and gnarly, brother.
That's disgusting.
It's real grody. Real grody. And that is more or less where I will leave us for now, with these sort of tensions going on in Lamia with the vampires just taking over this sort of... Vampires are cool in Warhammer. I mean, they're aristocrats, but they're bastards at the same time. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. So do the vampires work with Nagash, or they kind of do their own thing?
Well, right now, no one knows Nagash is alive, if that's your question.
Yeah, okay, as of this moment. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it for me. I'll see it in the future.
Yeah, we'll find out. But yeah, it's this thing that they realize of being like, oh, like Nagash is... The book is literally operating with cutting between the story of Nagash and the story of Neferata. That's why I kind of did this subversive thing with this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really about everything regarding this part of the book, and that's the introduction of the vampires thus far. But we'll cover more of both these factions in the future. Don't worry.
Very exciting.
Yeah, as always.
Oh. You know, I love undead like in fantasy. I always find them really cool. They're always fun.
They're fun in Warhammer, but it's more a thing of just being like Nagash and the vampires are cool. Actual undead is just like you just brought a skeleton back and it's just this like walking husk.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, yeah, you know what I mean though. I meant like like liches and vampires and stuff like that.
Oh, that's all. Yeah, that's all cool. Yeah. No, I'm saying like it's cool in Warhammer too. It's a thing of like they kind of traded it where it's like there's the cool parts and the not so cool parts. Whereas like with D&D, it's like, isn't everything kind of like have some weird gimmick or backstory? Like even the most minute monster?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, more or less, yeah. Whereas Nagash is just like, I'm just going to bring back Jeff from the dead. It's fine.
And send Jeff into battle.
Yeah, exactly. And then if he dies...
I was meaning to ask you this too, actually. So like, let's say I'm one of Nagash's undead boys. And you kill me. Can he just bring me back even though like I'm cut in half?
I think so. But again, it's going to be this thing where it's like you're cut in half and you're just going to be this like husk that's just dragging its body. And that's like, that's magic that he's putting into that, being like, why would you?
I see. Okay.
Because he's basically like every body that he does bring back is a piece of, well, at this point now, the warp stone is the only thing keeping him alive, actually. So every body he's bringing up is basically like some of his life essence is just like fizzling out a bit.
Okay.
So right now, Nagash needs the warp stone out of necessity. The Skaven just need it because it's literally every aspect of their economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense, I guess.
And we'll cover that aspect next episode. Don't worry.
Ooh, exciting.
All right, man. Do you have any further questions, or shall I take us home?
Then you should take us home. I'm ready for next episode.
All right. Yeah, quick. It's weird because it was a long book, but this was a shorter episode. But you know what? I'm not complaining. It was a fun read. I would heavily recommend, by the way, for anyone who wants to get into these stories. The second book of the Lineage of Nagash, great book.
Yeah, you got to drop it.
I don't remember the title. I think it's literally just called. I think it's called Neferata. Like the Lineage of Nagash. It's a great book,
but I don't know the title.
I think it's called The Lineage of Nagash Neferata, if I'm not mistaken. It's in the Nagash Omnibus.
All right, there you go.
We'll find it later.
It's a great read.
Great read. Great read.
Post it in the comments. We'll pin it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great read. Can't tell you the name of it. Let me tell you though. Great read, brother. Great read.
I love it. Love this book.
Such a good book. All right.
Someone.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Like I said, we'll have more on the next episode. As always, please do consider becoming a subscriber, leaving a like. It all helps the channel. Please feel free to leave a comment letting me know what I missed, actualing me. It always makes me, happy to know that I'm doing my job. And yeah, from there, we will see you in the next episode, which will probably be the pseudo finale because it kind of leads into the next part of stuff. Anyways, until then, we'll see you all then.
Bye, everyone.